Hello guys, and once again welcome to Homepage Inspiration Diaries. Now today I want us to discuss something about our hens. Now when you start doing poultry, there are some expectations that you will want to have achieved at a certain period of time. So basically, when you start keeping either the indigenous breeds or the improved breeds, or either the hybrids, you would want to expect certain results at some point. So in this episode, I want us to talk about the reasons why our hens don't lay eggs timely. Now, one of the reasons as to why we anticipate our hens to lay eggs is because we have kept them for quite some time, and then there comes this time that we want them to lay eggs, or we expect them to lay eggs. Now, one of the reasons is that one is either we are not giving them feeds that are appropriate, or feeds that are from accredited supplier, or feeds that have proper supplements or nutrition. Now, another thing is that we underfeed them, or we either overfeed them. So if you overfeed these birds, they will not have that time to process the feeds into eggs. Or rather, if you underfeed them, they will also not have enough feeds in their digestive system or in their system to boost the production of eggs. I have once kept the indigenous birds, and I have also kept the hybrid birds. These are the HY layers, of which if you give them the right amount of feeds that is required, that is when you will experience certainty in eggs. And this means that when these birds feed on the right ratio of feeds, it will give them ample time to develop the eggs or the egg in them, and then they will start laying eggs. These birds are just like let's say human beings. They have hormones that control the production of the egg. Another reason, stress. Now, stress is a very general word, in that we will find that we have environmental stress, we have feed stress, we have disease stress, we have heat stress, heat stress, that is the weather changes. And when you learn to manage the stress in a broad way, you will learn that these birds will enjoy being in a certain environment, if at all they are the pure layers or the commercial layers, or if at all they are these indigenous breeds or the improved indigenous breeds that we keep in farm. So stress is managed by being very tactical, being very present on the farm, and then observing the changes that these birds enjoy, or rather they don't like. Now, another thing that will lead to untimely laying eggs of our hens is disease. Now, disease management in poultry is one of the most risky and one of the most delicate and dangerous practices that most of us farmers don't have knowledge about. So managing disease in your farm is a very crucial thing, in that you will be forced to learn by yourself, you will be forced to attend trainings, you will be forced to do research, and basically after learning how to manage diseases in your poultry, it's when now you will have to at least get some experience, and then very soon you learn that when your birds are okay, they will start laying eggs automatically. Now, another thing that I want to remind as farmers is that let us not just be complaining that my birds are not laying eggs on time, or my birds are not laying eggs, or my birds are laying eggs today and tomorrow they are not laying eggs. We need to look at the breed that we want to keep as per our expectations. Now, when you want to keep the commercial layers, that is let's say for the single purpose birds meant specifically for the eggs, you need to do your research, you need to get your right breed. If it's the HY layers, if the Isa Brown, if the Sussex, there are various breeds on the market, so you have to do your own research, and then probably you have to make a wise decision in picking your breed. If you want the improved kienyeji, those are dual purpose birds, in that you can either decide to do the eggs or for meat purposes, and also you can decide to do the indigenous birds, whereby you can either way decide to do for them for meat or eggs. But then here we are just concerned about how our hens delay to lay eggs timely. These birds just reach a point and they decide they are just taking a break. You can't do anything. They just decide that today we are not going to lay eggs, we are going to take a break, and of course that is normal. Now, just to focus on the previous point that I mentioned, the breeds. We have these breeds, and you have to do your breed because you have to do your research, because some of these breeds, we are told by the researchers that some of these birds lay 280 to 300 eggs in a year. Some other birds lay like 180 to 220 eggs a year. So that, I think, will give us an overview of which type of bird we are expecting to keep. Because if at all we have a bird that is giving you like 330 eggs in a year, okay, roughly 300 to 330, then it means that bird will not or will never have any signs of becoming broody. So meaning that that bird is a commercial layer. But then when you have a bird that lays eggs below 180 in a year, then it shows that some of these signs may lead the bird to become broody. But then that is not the point. The point is these birds also need to engage themselves in the resting phase, so that they also regenerate or start laying eggs afresh. Now, another thing that we need to consider is while these birds are growing up, we need to observe them very well. Some of these birds, or most of these birds, when they enter the molting stage, they will stop laying. And the molting stage, here I mean that they will just start shedding feathers, in that giving time for other new feathers, and therefore they will take a bit of your time, so that they again start laying the eggs. Now, another thing that will also hinder or will also alter the laying of these birds is the change in feeds. Because nowadays we have a lot of feeds in the market, we have a lot of research that we are doing, and also we have to supplement these feeds. Now, as much as we shall be doing this, we also have to consider our interest. But then when we do this, we also have to take precautions on how it might affect the performance of the laying bird. These are hens. So if you are planning to change the feeds, of course just expect that there will be some little changes before the bird starts laying eggs again. Or rather, when you try to supplement these birds with some other feeds, it might also as well take some time before it gets back to laying the eggs. Now, the last point that I want us to discuss is that we might be wondering why these birds are not laying eggs timely, but then maybe our time calculation has been poor, because if you look at most of these commercial layers, they take around 16 to 22 weeks before we start experiencing 85% of eggs in a flock, or we start noticing that these birds are laying. So generally it might take up to 16 or 18 weeks as compared to the indigenous birds, which might also take like let's say 7 months, 8 months. So commercially viable birds for laying eggs have been designed or have undergone that generation mutilation, so that they at least fit in the 16, 17, 18 to 22. If bird at most might reach 24 weeks, then they start laying eggs. So basically, some of these points that I just mentioned, we have talked about feeds, we have talked about stress, we have talked about diseases, we have talked about the birds taking break, we have talked about molting, and we also need to take into consideration that since these birds are layers, we can't just talk about giving them water without they will not drink water without feeding. So that is one thing that we should not, because everybody is just like give them water, give them clean water, give them plenty of water. Even as humans, you can't just drink water on an empty stomach without a purpose or a medical purpose. So above all, after we have achieved this, we also need to give these birds multivitamin so that we encounter the stress that they are in, be it the change of environment, be it change of feeds, be it diseases, be it the breed that we are trying to bring into the new flock as a new flock. So we also need to take care of these birds either in a natural way or in a commercial way. So otherwise you can still supplement aloe vera as a multivitamin because it does well, and I think your flock will start laying eggs. So these are just some of the points that you need to observe, and I know with the time we shall learn more as we keep on sharing. So stick around and probably you will learn more.